I've always had this bizarre infatuation with Google Earth. When overcome with a barrage of tests, an impending oral assessment, or an anticipated swim meet, I often find myself gyrating about the virtual globe. Throughout my travels, I have noticed some things time and time again. Across the United States, there are squares, like this one by my house in Los Angeles, or this cornfield in Iowa, or this weird-looking resort in sunny Palm Springs, California, or in Kansas, Colorado, South Carolina, North Dakota, Michigan, or on my Dean's Honor Scholarship paper. The odd thing about these squares is that they only appear in certain parts of the United States. If you travel to the northeast, the squares disappear in favor of a complex mosaic of polygons that stretch on with no rhyme or reason. This underlying grid makes up the city structure of most of the cities in the region, such as Providence, shown here. But if you travel to Louisiana, the grid appears to radiate from the mighty Mississippi, forming the entire city structure of New Orleans and Baton Rouge. So why are the grid patterns so different in the Northeast and Mississippi River valleys than the rest of the United States? Let's find out. Let's start with the Northeast. The region was home to Native American tribes such as the Delaware, Iroquois, and Massachusetts before being colonized by the British in the early 1600s. The colonists brought their method of agriculture from the United Kingdom, and hence the British style of agricultural grid. This is why the farmland of the Northeast looks remarkably similar to the farmland of Britain. The difference between the British style of grid design and the American structure is obvious when you compare Denver in the west to New Haven in the east. Denver favors neat squares, while the streets in New Haven seem to radiate from the city center. The question you're probably asking now is, how did the British grid style diverge into the neat grid seen outside of the Northeast? And the answer comes from the Northwest Ordinance of 1978. This act, passed by the Confederation Congress, divided the newly admitted territories that would become Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin into neat, mile-long squares. This grid-like design soon became the preferred method of grid further west. The results of the Northwest Ordinance of 1978 can still be seen today. If you zoom into the border between Ohio and Kentucky, you can notice that one side of the river is made up of neat grids, while the other is more polygonal, like the rest of the Northeast. Now that the weird polygons in the Northeast and the grid-like structure of the West have been explored, what on earth is going on in the Mississippi Valley? As you probably guessed, colonialism is the reason. In this case, the French. French controlled the region from the late 1600s to the early 1800s. During their rule, they developed the cities of Mobile, New Orleans, and Baton Rouge, along with the grid-like structure that radiates from the Mississippi River. The radiating structure made it easy to produce crops, then ship them down the Mississippi River to be traded with Europe and the Americas. As with the polygons in the Northeast, which could also be found in Britain, this method of agriculture could be found in France and anywhere else there's been significant French influence for a prolonged period of time, such as Quebec in Canada and Hanoi in Vietnam. These grid-like structures, while often ignored, influence the daily life of all who live in them. The massive car-based squares in Los Angeles often create headaches, while the tight colonial alleys in the Northeast often make public transportation more prominent than cities further west. And the radial streets in New Orleans results in the odd shape of Tulane's campus, the arc of St. Charles Avenue, and the shape of the Audubon Park. Next time you're walking around your hometown, take a note of the structure of your city's grid. It might be a clue to a far distant, often overlooked past.